Hello, Deanna here, and thanks so much for being here. So today's video, I'm going to be doing a bit of a book review for a book that I have heard a lot of hype about, and it is something that I think has quite a fandom behind it, and that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and this is book number 1 of the series, which is The Lightning Thief. So I'm going to read out what I have as a summary for this novel. Troublemaker, problem child, ADHD. Those are some of the labels that Percy Jackson has had thrown at him throughout his life. For some reason, he has a real problem with authority and people telling him what to do. This constantly ends up with him in hot water, and he's been kicked out of yet another boarding school. Except this time is different. And it's not just because of his best friend, Grover. This time, evil has found him, and he has to make it to Camp Half-Blood or Ounce. Percy discovers the labels that have followed him mean something, and it involves none other than the Greek gods. Yeah, Mount Olympus type of gods. Somehow, Percy has managed to upset them, especially with Zeus's magical lightning bolt missing. Percy has to enlist the help of some friends to hunt it down and clear his name, and avoid becoming Olympian barbecue in the process. With a looming countdown over their heads, will Percy and his friends find the true thief in time, or is the biggest war ever imagined doomed to happen? Can Percy avoid a foretold fate and restore peace and balance to Mount Olympus? Only time will tell. So I'm actually surprised that I haven't read this one sooner, because just my love of Greek mythology and these type of middle grade reads, they're very up my alley. I think the issue was this came out when I was not quite the kind of demographic age that this was aimed at. So I had already kind of gotten past that age. I was, young adult at that point. I think it was just in a time period where I wasn't reading these as much. And then by the time it was like, okay, let me read them, they were just so huge. I felt like I had missed the Percy Jackson boat. But, time always kind of makes you reconsider things and makes you realize, these kind of fads and things that you want to fit into. It's not just a young person's game as much as maybe you don't want to, as much as maybe I don't want to keep up with all the young kids all the time. Doesn't mean I can't enjoy some of the books that came from when I might have been a little older. So that definitely recently has made me get into reading the Percy Jackson series. And I think I'm just in time too, because I think I hear rumor that there's a new series coming out. I haven't watched the movie. I heard that it wasn't quite what the fandom wanted, and now there's like a series potentially coming out, so maybe I'll take that into consideration and take a look at that in the future. But for now, I'm going to share my thoughts on this book. So I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really well done. I read another book written, I can't remember the name of it. I believe it's The Firekeeper. I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. It's in my other room. I'll put it up on stage. I'll put it up on screen of what the name of that book is. And that was written, I think it was like endorsed by Rick, or he was the one that like helped publish it, but it very much had a very similar feel to this book. And I'm clear that this book came first. This is the one that is the original book from Rick, but it definitely had the same type of storyline, the same kind of circumstance of like a young boy finding out his father that left is a lot more than what he expected him to be, and that he's actually a half god. So I'm gonna keep this as spoiler free as I can, but there are some points that it's the main basis of this story. The main basis is that he finds out that he is the son of a god, and then he has to go on a quest to help find this item that was stolen from Zeus, the master lightning bolt, because it might start essentially the next huge war between all the gods. So he has to try to clear his name and also his father's name in the process. I really loved the way that Rick wrote about some of the Greek gods and the myths that are stories that have been told for millennia, and I found them really interesting how he worked it into this book. I think it was, you know, sometimes a little predictable, and it was like, oh, here's another thing, yet another, you know, kind of myth or something that's taking him on a side quest, or something that's like, you know, disrupting him and coming, you know, yet another foe that he has to fight. Like, it did get a little bit like, okay, yeah, here's another thing, here's another thing. But sometimes that kept it really interesting and fun too. And when you're dealing with, especially the demographic that this is aimed towards, which is, you know, that middle grade young child, they want that action. I'm sure they want, like, okay, what's going on, like keeping their attention and keeping them engaged and just having fun with the story. So I definitely understand why it was written that way, but sometimes it did get like, okay, I can kind of see what's coming. I can kind of see. There was a few parts where I could tell, like, this is what's going to happen down the line, but it still, I loved it. I still really enjoyed it, and it still like kept me glued to this book and wanting to find out and going along on this really delightful ride that I was on. So it was a lot of fun. It was a really good book, and I can see why people absolutely love it and why there's this whole like send me to Camp Half-Blood, because it's really fun. If anything, much like many of the types of stories that are set in some of these places like Hogwarts and Camp Half-Blood and things like that, sometimes you actually want them to be at that place more. So I did find the time that Percy was at Camp Half-Blood was like so short compared to like what I wanted to see. It's like I wanted to see more of like the interactions of the different gods and the different houses and the different cabins and things like that. Like I want to see more of that. I want to see that just almost ordinary way of this extraordinary way that they live. Like I wanted more of that, but I also understand that this is a story we want to see the quest. Like, this is very much a quest-like story. Like, it's literally, he has to go on a quest. It's literally in the book, he has to go on a quest. And so I do know that obviously they couldn't sit all the time around Camp Half-Blood, and this is a story with action, and you know, we gotta get out there and get things moving. But I would love to see more of Camp Half-Blood and how it's run, and just some of the day-to-day camper-like living going on there. My favorite characters, other than Percy, I did end up really loving Percy as a character. My other favorite characters, personally, were Mr. Brenner, otherwise known as Chiron, and Grover. I absolutely loved Grover. Like, oh, I just have such a soft place in my heart for Grover. They were really interesting characters, and I liked them as, you know, the characters that already kind of knew some of what was going on, and they helped kind of push Percy along on his journey, and they helped kind of fill in some of the gaps here and there. And Grover was just such a sweet character and so reliable and like loyal to Percy that you just wanted to see good things for him, and just I just want to like wrap up a little Grover up. Overall, I absolutely love this story. I'm glad that I read it. I gave it 5 stars, and I've already moved on to the next one in the series, which is The Sea of Monsters. I'm already like, here's my sticky. I like literally just started this maybe like the other day, and I'm already halfway through it because I mean, it's middle grade reader, so it's a little easier to read, and it's also just like, it keeps me wanting to know what's going on. Like, I want to know. And I absolutely love that Percy has an affinity with water. Like, absolutely love it. Love, love, love the whole thing. I want to see more, so I've got the second book already started, and I've got the rest of the series behind me. If you saw my book haul that I did a while ago, I got this whole series then, and now I'm sitting down and reading it. So this is going to be video 1 of hopefully much more videos to come as I continue to read the series. And then I really want to go back and then even reread it and maybe annotate it and things, and just kind of get a little more into it to really get into like the lore and the backstory and all of that about the world of Percy Jackson. So this is just my this is my first read through. This is my first kind of impression of this book, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely found it so much fun. I really want to get my son into it, so fingers crossed he will enjoy it, because he's just getting into the world of like middle grade reading, so maybe this hopefully someday will be one of his favorite books. But for me, it's definitely a 5-star, and I absolutely love the story of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So 5 stars, definitely recommend. So that's going to be it for me. If you like your video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Check back again. Like I said, I'm going to not only read, hopefully the rest of the series is my plan, and read at least each one of those books and then maybe give my thoughts. And then I'd like to go back and look at the whole series as a whole and really get a little more into it and like see how, okay, this was here and how it came. So I'll have like some spoiler-free reviews, and then hopefully in the future I will have a lot more of an in-depth, like spoilers abound kind of review. So keep posted for that, and hopefully I can do that by the end of the year, fingers crossed, if I can get through all these books and then get back and reread them all again. All right, well, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourself, and you will see me next time. Bye!